A millionaire lost his sons in a snowstorm, then stood frozen at the scene before him. The snowstorm arrived so suddenly it felt like someone had muted the entire city. Just an hour earlier, Seattle had still been glowing with lights and steady traffic, but now there was only wind, howling hard enough to rattle the windows of Maple and Ink, the little bookstore cafe where Lily Morgan was working the night shift. She wiped the counter absently, eyes drifting to the glass door every few seconds as if checking to make sure it was still standing. She had worked late shifts for years and knew winter nights well, but something about tonight felt different. The wind slammed against the storefront with a force she rarely heard. The wooden sign outside creaked sharply, swinging like it might snap any moment. The street was empty, unnaturally empty. No cars, no footsteps, just white, swallowing the world inch by inch. Lily paused, sensing the strange, held-breath stillness of the city. Then she saw them. 2 children, 2 tiny shapes barely visible through the swirling snow. One older boy staggering forward, pulling a much smaller child behind him. They were swaying as if a single strong gust could knock them flat. And worst of all, their jackets were paper thin. "Oh, God," Lily whispered, dropping the cloth she was holding. She didn't think. She didn't calculate. She just ran. She shoved the door open, the wind instantly slapping her face with a sting that made her eyes tear up. "Hey, this way! Look at me!" she shouted, hoping her voice wasn't swallowed by the storm. The smaller boy turned first. His face was raw from the cold, lips nearly purple. When he saw the golden light spilling from the bookstore and Lily's arms reaching out, something inside him sparked, a last flicker of strength. He stumbled toward her, dragging the older boy along. "Come here, quickly!" Lily dropped to her knees, scooping both boys into her arms. Their bodies were terrifyingly cold. Damp clothes, shallow breaths, too fragile for the temperature outside. She hauled them inside, forced the heavy door shut, and rushed to turn on the extra heater. She dragged out blankets, wrapped them up, then hurried back behind the counter to make hot cocoa with shaking hands. The boys curled close to the espresso machine, trembling but conscious. "You're safe now. Let me get you warm," she murmured. When she set the cocoa in front of them, the younger boy held the cup with both tiny hands, trembling so hard the surface rippled. The older boy watched her, dark-eyed, cautious, far too grown for his age. "I'm Lily," she said softly. "What are your names?" The older boy swallowed. "I'm Aaron. This is my brother, Caleb." Just that single sentence made Lily's throat tighten. Children who thanked strangers in moments like this had lived through too much. "Where's your home? Where are your parents?" she asked gently. Aaron lowered his gaze. A long silence followed. Then he whispered, barely audible, "We don't have a home anymore." The words sliced through her, sharp and familiar, because she too had once been the child who said that sentence. She knew that tone, that quiet fear, that bravery born from necessity. She didn't ask another question. When the bookstore closed, Lily brought the boys upstairs to her tiny studio apartment. It was barely big enough for one person, but tonight it had to fit 3. She cooked hot noodles, wrapped the boys in thick blankets, settled Caleb on her bed, and Aaron beside him. Caleb fell asleep almost instantly. Aaron stayed awake longer, eyes wide, as if afraid that closing them would take this safety away. Lily sat beside him and whispered, "You're safe here, I promise." Only when his eyes finally fluttered shut did she allow herself to breathe. And in that deep, quiet moment, Lily felt it. Tonight hadn't just saved 2 children from a storm. It had opened a door she never expected her life to walk through. Morning arrived with a pale, tired light slipping through the thin curtains of the small upstairs apartment. Outside, the streets were buried under a thick blanket of snow, turning Seattle into a silent, frozen painting. Lily woke to the soft rustling of the two boys. Aaron was sitting up to check on his brother, while Caleb still slept soundly, his cheeks warmer than they had been the freezing night before. "Are you boys hungry?" Lily asked softly, voice still tinged with sleep. Aaron nodded, and Caleb rubbed his eyes. "Yeah, I'm hungry." A few minutes later, the tiny kitchen was filled with the warm smell of pancakes. Lily flipped each one carefully, trying to make the morning feel as normal as possible, as if the night before had been a shared nightmare they were slowly waking from. Aaron watched her quietly, alert but still wary. Caleb hugged the small blanket Lily had wrapped him in, his feet swinging. "Miss Lily," Aaron said with hesitation, "aren't you scared of us?" The question startled her. "Why would I be scared?" Aaron looked down, fiddling with his spoon. "Because we don't know anyone. We don't have a home. We don't have anyone to call." Lily placed the pancakes down and sat beside them. "I used to be that kid, Aaron, and I know sometimes all you need is someone to put a plate in front of you and say everything's going to be okay." Aaron looked up, dark eyes shimmering in the soft light. But before Lily could say more, a sudden knock hit the door, hard, urgent, shaking the small apartment. Lily froze, her heart tightening with a sudden instinct. Lily didn't know how anyone could have found her in a storm like that, until she remembered the security camera above Maple and Ink's entrance. Ethan must have gone back there at dawn, desperate enough to beg anyone for answers. The police could have checked the footage, seen Lily carrying the boys upstairs through the back stairwell, and the building manager would have had no choice but to point him toward the small apartment above the cafe. She walked to the door, peered through the peephole, and stopped breathing. In the narrow hallway stood a tall man, breath-forming white clouds in the cold air. Snow clung to his long coat, his hair slightly tousled by the storm. His face, drawn tight with exhaustion and fear, looked like it had been locked in that expression for hours. He knocked again, harder. Lily steadied herself, kept the chain on, and opened the door just a crack. "Can I help?" "I'm sorry," the man cut her off, voice rough, trembling with desperation. "I'm looking for two children. Two boys, Aaron and Caleb." Behind Lily, a soft voice broke the air. "Dad!" Lily turned. Aaron stood in the middle of the room, Caleb gripping his shirt. And in that moment, all the tension on the man's face collapsed. He almost fell forward as he pulled both boys into his arms with the force of someone who had suffered all night. "Oh, God! You two!" he choked out. "I searched everywhere. I thought I lost you." Aaron clung to him. Caleb buried his face into his father's coat, sobbing. Lily stood still, feeling like an intruder witnessing something sacred. On the man's coat, she spotted a small, familiar logo, Reyes Architecture Group. This man, Ethan Reyes, was not just anyone. He was Seattle's most well-known architect, someone whose world Lily had never imagined brushing against. When the boys finally calmed, Ethan turned to her. His eyes held a gratitude so deep it made her step back. "Miss Morgan," he said quietly, voice lower now, "my sons are alive because of you." "No, No," he interrupted gently but firmly. "Not everyone opens their door and saves two boys in a storm. I owe you, far more than you realize." Aaron chimed in. "She gave us hot cocoa, and we slept in her bed." Caleb nodded vigorously, face still smudged with pancake crumbs. Ethan exhaled a soft, exhausted laugh. "Thank you, truly." He pulled out a minimalist white business card and placed it in Lily's hand. The embossed letters read, "Ethan Reyes, founder and lead architect. If you ever need anything, anytime," he said, "call me." And as he walked away, the two boys holding tightly to his hands Lily watched them disappear down the snowy hallway. She didn't know why it felt like her world had shifted a little, only that when the storm cleared that morning, something in her life had quietly, undeniably, begun to change. When the apartment door closed behind the Reyes family, Lily remained frozen in place, feeling as though she had witnessed something far too big for her small world. But no matter how overwhelming everything felt, the next morning life marched on, and she returned to the little bookstore cafe where the scent of freshly roasted beans always grounded her. The shop was busier than usual that morning, maybe because the snow outside had begun to melt. Lily worked behind the counter, making coffee, ringing up orders, shelving books. Everything felt so normal, she almost convinced herself that last night had been nothing more than a snow-drenched dream. Until the bell over the door chimed with an almost dramatic clarity. The entire room seemed to stretch as a man stepped inside, tall, elegant, wrapped in a perfectly tailored charcoal suit. Ethan Reyes. Conversations slowed. A few customers whispered. Others stared openly, as though a magazine cover had just walked in. Lily froze behind the counter. "Ethan? What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice barely audible. He didn't answer right away. He walked straight toward her, step after steady step, until the rest of the cafe seemed to fade into the background. Then, right in front of her, he reached out and took her hand. Lily gasped softly. "Ethan, what are you—" Murmurs rippled across the room. Ethan met her eyes with a depth that felt warmer than the morning sun glinting off melting snow. "Lily Morgan," he said, voice low but strong enough that every conversation stopped mid-sentence. "Last night, you didn't just save Aaron and Caleb, you saved my heart, my entire life." Silence swallowed the cafe whole. A spoon clattered to the floor. Lily flushed. "Ethan, please don't say that. I just—" "No," he said, tightening his hold gently. "Not everyone would bring two strange children into their home. Not everyone would do what you did. And I." He inhaled deeply, gathering every ounce of courage before speaking the words that made the cafe freeze. "Lily Morgan, marry me." For a moment the world simply stopped. Eyes widened. Someone choked on their coffee. Lily's manager stared from behind the espresso machine, mouth open. The entire room fell into an electrified silence. Lily felt her mind short-circuit. "What? Ethan, no! No, absolutely not!" She snatched her hand back, face burning, heart hammering. "You're insane! I don't even know anything about you besides the fact that you're the father of the boys I helped." He didn't look offended. Instead, he regarded her with a calm sincerity that only flustered her more. "I know you think this is crazy. I'm not asking you to answer me now." His voice softened, wrapping around her like a gentle warmth in the stunned silence. "I just want you to know, meeting you wasn't an accident, and I want to do right, by my boys and by myself." He slid a small card across the counter. "Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, come to my home for dinner with my family. No pressure, no expectations, just a chance to understand each other." Lily stared at the card, then at him. "Ethan, this is too much." He nodded. "I know, but sometimes the wildest things are the ones that turn out right." Without waiting for more protest, Ethan offered a gentle smile, bowed his head in gratitude, and turned to leave. The bell chimed again, a quieter, more fateful sound than before. The moment the door closed, the cafe exploded. "Oh my God, did he just propose?" "Lily, how long have you known that man?" "That was the Ethan Reyes?" Lily buried her face in her hands, cheeks blazing. Joy, fear, disbelief, they all spiraled through her chest like a storm. And she knew her life, from this moment on, would never be the same. After the whirlwind at the cafe, Lily left her shift feeling as though she had survived another kind of storm. She walked back to her tiny upstairs apartment, each step heavier than the last. Ethan's proposal kept echoing in her mind like a bell that refused to quiet. Every time she remembered the look on everyone's faces, her cheeks heated again. "Crazy," she muttered to herself as she unlocked her door. "Absolutely crazy." But she didn't even have time to sit down before a soft yet firm knock sounded. Lily startled, her heartbeat jumping. A flash of panic crossed her mind. "Don't tell me Ethan came again." She opened the door and froze. Standing there was an elegant older woman, silver hair curled neatly, wearing a cream wool coat that gave off an aura of quiet wealth. Her eyes were sharp but warm. Lily didn't need an introduction. "You are?" Lily whispered. The woman offered a gentle, slightly tired smile. "Marisa Reyes, Ethan's mother." Lily's heart tightened. Part of her wanted to run. Part of her braced for judgment, for warnings, for being told to stay away from Ethan. Marisa glanced at the hallway. "May I come in, Lily? I promise. I'm not here to argue." Lily hesitated, then opened the door wider. "Please, come in." "Chew." The woman stepped inside with a grace that made Lily's small apartment feel even smaller. But surprisingly, she didn't scan the room, didn't look down on anything. She simply sat, as though this place was perfectly enough. "I heard about what happened at the cafe," Marisa began calmly. "And before you worry, I'm not here to criticize Ethan or pressure you." Lily blinked in surprise. "I'm here to thank you." Marisa placed a hand on her chest. "For saving my grandsons. If you hadn't been there, I cannot imagine the alternative." Lily's breath caught. "I just did what anyone would do." "No," Marisa shook her head. "Not everyone would." She paused, eyes dimming with memory. 3 years ago, we lost Elena, Ethan's wife. A terrible accident. Since then, Ethan hasn't been himself. He worked obsessively, stopped smiling, closed his heart to everyone. And the boys, they slowly withdrew too. There was a sorrow in her voice that only someone who had lived through grief could hold. But since meeting you, Aaron laughs more. Caleb opens up again. And Ethan, for the first time in 3 years, there's light in his eyes. Lily felt something twist deep inside her. "I didn't do anything. I just showed up at the right moment," Marisa said gently. "Sometimes that's enough to change a life." Silence lingered between them. Lily lowered her gaze, fidgeting. "About the proposal, I didn't know what to say. I panicked." "I know." Marissa's smile softened. "When it comes to those he loves, Ethan tends to act with intense emotion. But I came to tell you this. I don't expect an answer. I only want you to give our family a chance to know you." She handed Lily a small invitation. "Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, a family dinner. No proposal, no pressure, just conversation." Lily stared at the card, her hands trembling slightly. A few seconds passed before she whispered, "Yes, I'll come." Marisa exhaled in relief and smiled warmly. "Thank you, dear." After Lily walked her to the door and it closed behind Marisa, she stood still for a long time, the invitation clutched in her hand. A family dinner, no pressure, no proposal. Yet Lily knew unmistakably everything was only just beginning. All the next day, Lily felt as though her nerves were tied into knots. Every time her eyes drifted toward the invitation card on the table, her fingers trembled slightly. But as the afternoon sunlight spilled gently across her window and the snow outside melted into shimmering streaks, she knew she couldn't hide. She opened her small closet, dug around, and finally chose a simple forest green dress. Nothing extravagant, nothing flashy, just her. When the taxi stopped in front of the Reyes estate, her heart slammed into her ribs. The house was far larger than anywhere she had ever been, yet the warmth it radiated surprised her. Golden lights glowed through the windows, snow-dusted trees sparkled under the lamps, and winter flowers lined the entrance in neat arrangements. Grand, yes, but not cold. It felt lived in, loved. She didn't even have time to ring the bell before the door burst open. "Lily!" Caleb's tiny voice shot into the air. He rushed toward her like a small whirlwind and wrapped his arms around her legs. "I knew you'd come." Aaron stood behind him, offering the soft, shy smile that always made Lily's chest tighten. "Good evening, Miss Lily." Lily laughed, tension melting away. "Hello, boys." Ethan's parents, Gabriel and Marissa, appeared next, warm and welcoming. "We're so glad you could join us," Gabriel said, his deep voice full of kindness. "Tonight is just a family dinner, nothing formal. Please feel at home." Dinner unfolded in a long dining room that somehow didn't feel distant at all. Gabriel told stories from his engineering days. Marissa chimed in with playful jokes. Caleb babbled endlessly, and Aaron watched Lily with that gentle trust she didn't know how to handle. Ethan sat across from her, and every time their eyes met, a quiet warmth bloomed between them. By the time dessert arrived, Lily had forgotten she was supposed to be intimidated by this world. She felt included, safe, almost like she belonged. After dinner, Ethan invited her for a walk through the house. He opened the door to Aaron and Caleb's room, a world filled with books, toys, colorful drawings, and a little corner labeled Fort Builders Only, which made Lily laugh. "I built that bookshelf myself," Ethan admitted sheepishly. "It's crooked, but the boys love it." "It's perfect," Lily said softly. "And warm." They stepped back into the hallway, where soft golden light washed over Ethan's face. The house grew quiet, leaving only their breathing and Lily's suddenly loud heartbeat. "Lily," Ethan said, turning toward her with steady, sincere eyes, "I want to say what I didn't explain properly the other day." She held her breath. "Being a single father, it's hard," he said quietly. "I try to be strong for them, but when I saw you with my boys, I realized what this family has been missing isn't money or success." He paused, breathing in deeply. "It's gentleness, a warm heart the boys can lean on, and someone who makes me want to step out of the darkness I've lived in for 3 years. Lily felt her face heat as something tender pressed painfully inside her chest. "I know proposing that soon was crazy," Ethan continued, "but my feelings are real, very real." He met her eyes fully and whispered, clear and certain, "I want you to be my wife, the mother of my sons, a part of this family." Lily looked away, hands twisting. It was too fast, too big, too frightening. She was just a girl working in a bookstore, living in a tiny apartment with nothing to offer compared to his world. Yet she remembered Caleb hugging her, Aaron's gentle smile, and Ethan's grief-softened eyes. Remembered her own childhood longing for a home, a place to belong. "Ethan," she whispered, "I need more time." Ethan nodded, a sad but understanding smile touching his lips. "I'll wait, as long as you need." Lily drew a shaky breath. For the first time in her life, fear and longing collided inside her with equal force. In the days following the dinner at the Reyes estate, time seemed to move gently, almost tenderly, around Lily. Ethan didn't pressure her, didn't bring up the proposal again. Instead, he let space grow naturally between them, space to breathe, to understand, to feel. And that quiet patience comforted her more than anything else could. He invited her to simple places, no fancy restaurants, no formality, just truth. One evening they ate tacos from a food truck, standing side by side as the cold wind brushed past them and the heat of the spices warmed their hands. They laughed over Caleb tolerating spicy food better than Ethan, and then laughed harder when Lily admitted she once bit into a jalapeno and cried for half an hour. Another evening, they walked along the harbor, watching the city lights ripple across the dark water. The sea breeze lifted Lily's hair, and Ethan gently tucked a strand behind her ear, a small movement that sent a shiver through her. But the night that would stay with her forever was the one when Ethan drove her to a high hill overlooking Seattle. Below them, the city glowed like a fallen galaxy. He told her it was the place he used to stand for hours after Elena died, a place where he allowed himself to break. Lily didn't speak. She could feel the grief lingering in the quiet between his breaths. "I used to think I'd never feel anything again," Ethan murmured, eyes fixed on the glittering skyline. "But when I saw you in that small apartment with my boys, something in me woke up." Her throat tightened. She had never imagined she could give hope to someone, especially someone like him. She inhaled shakily. "I never thought I could trust anyone. Growing up without a real family, I'm scared of loving, scared of losing." Ethan turned to her then, his gaze so gentle it broke through every wall she had built. "Lily," he said softly, stepping closer. "I'll ask again, not rushing you, not pushing you." His voice was low, steady. "Will you marry me?" Her heart thudded so loudly she wondered if he could hear it. Part of her was terrified, terrified of happiness, terrified of grief. But when she looked into Ethan's eyes, she saw the one thing she had longed for all her life, a place to belong. Her eyes shimmered in the glow of the city. "Yes, I will." Ethan exhaled as though years of heaviness finally lifted from his chest. He cupped her face gently, carefully, as if holding something fragile and precious. And Lily rose to meet him as he kissed her beneath the star-filled sky. A kiss slow and tender, sealing the moment her life quietly shifted into a new chapter. After that star-lit night, everything wrapped Lily in a warm whirlwind. But before the happiness could settle, news of her engagement to Ethan spread through the community like wildfire. Everywhere she went, the bookstore, the cafe downstairs, even the small grocery shop, people whispered about the ordinary girl who was about to become the wife of a wealthy Seattle businessman. And that wave of attention brought the one thing Lily feared most: opposition. Isabel Hart, the older sister of Ethan's late wife, came to the bookstore. She looked as though she had walked straight through a storm, eyes swollen, expression tight. "You're Lily Morgan?" Isabel asked, her voice cold enough to straighten Lily's spine. "Yes. How can I help you?" Isabel didn't mince words. "I want to know what you want from Ethan, from this family. Don't say love. I lost my sister. I watched him break, so much that I thought he'd never recover. And now, after only a few weeks, you, someone with nothing, are suddenly the miracle?" She let out a sharp laugh. Convenient. Lily felt her heart twist. The words cut deep, but she held her calm. "I love them, all of them. I'm not taking anything from anyone." "We'll see how long that holds," Isabel muttered, before leaving Lily standing alone behind the counter, her hands trembling. But fate has a habit of softening even the hardest doubts. A few days later, Isabel arrived at the Reyes estate just as Lily was on the living room floor with Caleb and Aaron, building a blanket fort. Caleb clung to Lily's neck, giggling as he fell into her lap. Aaron leaned against her shoulder, showing her a sketch of a robot he had drawn. The sight stopped Isabel mid-step. Lily looked up. They held each other's gaze for a moment, and Isabel's eyes softened. No sharpness, only old grief and surprise at seeing something genuine. "I may have been unfair," Isabel whispered. "I'm just afraid they'll be hurt again." Lily offered a gentle smile. "I'm afraid too, but I'm not going anywhere." From that moment, the resistance faded. When the family began planning the wedding, the Reyes estate filled with laughter, chatter, and the sound of the boys running around trying to help. Lily felt for the first time that she belonged somewhere. The ceremony took place in the golden glow of late afternoon in the garden behind the estate. Strings of lights arched overhead like a soft celestial path. Caleb and Aaron, in their tiny suits, each held one of Lily's hands as they walked her down the aisle. Ethan waited, eyes already misty the moment he saw her. When he read his vows, his voice trembling, Lily felt the world quiet to a single point: the man before her and the trust he placed in her. After their first kiss as husband and wife, applause erupted across the garden. And in that moment, Lily knew with certainty she would never be alone again. She had become Lily Reyes. In the days following the wedding, Lily thought happiness would stretch on forever. But only a few days later, she began to notice something wrong with Ethan. He slept little, ate poorly, and his eyes carried a fatigue he tried to hide. Every night when Lily ran her fingers through his hair and asked, "Are you okay?" Ethan forced a small smile. "Just pressure. Don't worry." But Lily knew. She saw the strain in every breath he took. Then one morning, Ethan received an urgent call from his team in New York. The company's biggest project was on the verge of collapse. With no choice left, Ethan had to fly out the same day. "I'll try to come back soon," he promised, though his eyes revealed his fear. But days turned into weeks, and he still didn't return. Lily learned to play both mother and father, driving the boys to school, comforting Caleb when he cried because he missed his dad, sitting beside Aaron each night when he quietly asked, "Will Dad be home for my birthday?" Lily pulled him close, swallowing her ache. "He's trying his best. He loves you so much." And her? She missed Ethan with an ache that lived inside her ribs, missed his voice, his warmth, the way he placed a hand on her back whenever she was anxious. Then, on a gray, rainy afternoon, Lily's phone rang. A New York number? Her heart froze. "Are you Ethan Reyes's wife?" a hesitant female voice asked. He collapsed during a meeting this morning. He's at Midtown Hospital now." Lily went silent. The world blurred. The world. Is he okay?" she whispered. "The doctors say severe exhaustion, dehydration, burnout. But he's awake, just very weak." Without a second thought, Lily dropped the boys off with Marisa, grabbed a few essentials, and rushed to the airport. The overnight flight felt endless, her chest tight with fear. When she reached the hospital, she practically ran into his room. Ethan lay on the bed, pale and drained, but his eyes lit up the instant they found her. "Lily!" His voice cracked, melting against her name. She threw her arms around him, trembling. "Ethan, don't ever scare me like that again. You don't have to carry everything alone. From now on, we carry it together. You're not alone. Not ever." Ethan buried his face into her shoulder, his hand shaking slightly. "I need you," he breathed, the confession raw and long suppressed. And for the first time in weeks, Lily felt Ethan truly let go, leaning on her, trusting her completely. When Ethan recovered and they returned to Seattle, the late winter sky hung gray and heavy, echoing his mood. Through the entire drive from the airport, he held Lily's hand tightly, but remained silent, as if preparing himself for a truth he feared to say. Once the front door of the mansion closed behind them, Ethan stopped, shoulders slumped. "Lily, there's something I have to tell you." She turned gently toward him, resting her hand on his arm. "What is it?" He inhaled, eyes darkening. "The company? It's not just struggling, it's sinking. I did everything I could to save it, but it isn't enough." His voice cracked. "To pay the debts and keep my team alive, I have to sell the mansion." Lily froze, not from shock at losing the house, but from the anguish in his eyes. Ethan looked down, as if expecting her to walk away. "I know. This isn't the life you deserve," he whispered. "I'm scared you'll regret marrying me, scared you'll leave." Lily stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him, holding him so tightly he finally exhaled. "Ethan," she murmured, "I didn't marry a mansion. I married you. I married this family. We survived a snowstorm, judgment, fears, hospitals. Selling a house won't break us." He trembled slightly. For the first time, he allowed himself to be weak and still feel loved. The following weeks were full of challenges. Lily became the anchor he needed, organizing finances, cutting expenses, applying for a medical scholarship to pursue her dream of becoming a paramedic. She stayed up studying, woke early to take the boys to school, and made dinner for Ethan after long, exhausting days trying to rebuild what remained of his company. Eventually, the Reyes mansion was sold. The family moved into a small house near Elliott Bay, just 2 bedrooms, no grand hallways, no chandelier. But warm sunlight filled every room, and gentle waves echoed every morning. And strangely, they were happier than ever. Caleb ran circles around the tiny yard shouting, "I love this house. It smells like the ocean." Aaron helped Lily plant a little pot of flowers by the porch, and Ethan, though tired, smiled more often. Real smiles. One evening, Lily came home from her first day of paramedic training wearing her Navy uniform. Ethan stood in the doorway, leaning against the frame, eyes soft with pride. "You look beautiful," he said quietly. "I'm proud of you. I'm proud we get to start over together." Lily touched his cheek, smiling gently. "Starting over together is all we need." They lost a mansion, but they found something far more precious. A real home. That winter arrived earlier than usual, bringing the familiar cold of Seattle, but also something none of them expected. While Ethan continued working tirelessly from his small temporary office, rebuilding the company piece by piece, a local business journalist had run a small feature about the architect who sold his mansion to start over in a tiny house by the bay. A few days later, an unexpected email appeared in his inbox. Sender, Richard Hale, one of the original investors who had abandoned the company when things collapsed. "Ethan," the letter began, "I read the article about you selling your mansion to prioritize your family. You chose something most wealthy men forget. Love. I was moved." And the final line, "I want to return, and I'm not the only one." Attached were 3 more letters, 3 investors who had once walked away, now wanting to partner again. No demands to replace him as CEO, no pressure to cut staff, just investment based on faith in Ethan Reyes, the man who chose family over power. When Ethan brought the news home, Lily was helping Caleb tape paper snowflakes onto the window. Aaron sat on the floor reading, while Ethan's parents, Gabriel and Marissa, prepared dinner in the tiny kitchen. The Little Bay house was warm, crowded, alive with laughter. "Lily?" Ethan called softly. His voice trembled in a way she hadn't heard in months. She turned. "What's wrong?" He handed her the phone. "The company. It's coming back." Lily looked at him, then laughed through tears. "Ethan, I knew it. I always believed in you." That evening, as they sat on the porch watching the first snowflakes fall, Ethan gently took her hand. "If the company grows again, we could buy back the mansion. If you want, we can all move back." "No." Lily touched his lips, shaking her head. "Home is here, in this little house, where I wake to the sound of waves, where the boys run like birds, where your parents laugh like they're young again. Home is wherever we are together." Shy, Ethan looked at her for a long, emotional moment. "I love you, Lily." "I love you, too." That night, the whole family built a blanket fort in the living room. Caleb brought pillows, Aaron assigned responsibilities, Marissa helped secure the corners while laughing softly, and Gabriel set up the projector for their favorite movie. Lily lay between the boys, feeling their tiny warmth pressed against her. Ethan lay beside her, his hand resting gently over hers. In the dim glow inside the blanket fort, Lily thought, I may have saved them that snowy night, but they're the ones who saved me from a life of loneliness. Outside, snow fell softly. Inside, the family, 6 hearts stitched together across 2 generations, drifted into peaceful sleep, a sweet ending, a true happiness, a home.